Hello friends, let's talk about some interesting JavaScript facts in this video. So JavaScript is everywhere, right? From web browser to the server, from single threaded execution to handling millions of requests per second. But do you really understand how JavaScript works under the hood? So in this video, we are going to cover many interesting concepts starting from what this JavaScript engine is, right? Is JavaScript a single threaded or multi-threaded? Can JavaScript execute on the browser or on the server or both basically? Is there any relationship with Java and JavaScript? Is JavaScript a scripting language or a programming language? What the hell this ECMAScript is? So we are going to cover all of those things in a very interesting fashion in this entire video. So please keep watching this video till the end. So there are many things that you are going to know as a prerequisite to get started for an important course that we are going to cover, which is Chakde JavaScript. So in case you have not already covered, like enroll into this course, I have a humble request. Please go check out KodeKarma.dev. Go into the courses. Go into the Chakde JavaScript. It's like 30 days of JavaScript in order to master from zero to hero. So very interesting thing. It covers from the very fundamental concepts like you have a JavaScript variable, data type, scope, variable, hosting, this keyword, functions, object array, everything. Then it goes to advanced where you learn about the inheritance, asynchronous behavior of JavaScript, handling the errors, ES6 features, you can say higher order functions, multiple things like how do you handle the DOM manipulation, how do you create any project and stuff using JavaScript, everything that we are going to cover, your storage even, then we are going to cover the advanced sections like your module import, like today's era of JavaScript, right? We are going to also cover the user, you can memory management, performance, debugging, many things, and at the finally we are going to cover a lot of the projects. So in case you have not already enrolled, please do enroll. A humble request, even the main perk that you get in this particular Chakde JavaScript course that is over here, you will get to learn from the very interesting example scenarios. You can discuss with folks basically any concepts, any query that you have, you can watch the video. Along with that, you have something which is my personal favorite. You do not master, you do not become a champ in programming by just watching and reading. You have to practice, and for this you get very beautiful thing where you can actually go and practice these concepts that you are learning with different people with great examples, test cases. You see solutions, you see submissions from other people, you have a great discussion forum and everything basically you get. So now let's quickly jump back and let's talk about like hidden facts, basically the JavaScript facts that we are going to cover now. My personal favorite, I am not a big fan of talking about histories. I generally don't believe on much of them. I believe on creating histories in future, but there are very interesting things that I'm going to talk in this particular from the JavaScript history. So first thing first. So in 1995, it got introduced. It's okay. That is one part of it. Brendan basically introduced JavaScript. He created the first version, which is okay, still okay. My favorite part is JavaScript got created in 10 days. Do you know this? Like JavaScript really got created in 10 days. If a programming language like JavaScript can be created, like why we think about, hey, we need some crazy amount of time in order to do that. Why it got started becoming popular, let me help you. What was the differentiator with the other programming language, right? It has dynamic typing where it says that you have a variable where you store the string. Now you can store the number, future array. It can be anything that you can keep changing and storing in a same variable. This was something interesting. Now the other interesting things JavaScript basically brought is a first class. Like you can pass a function to another function and you can get back a function from another function. These kind of a cool things basically you can do. You have a special kind of prototype based inheritance, not a class type inheritance. In case any of these terminology was jargon to you, don't worry. In upcoming videos, you are going to master all of those concepts in much detail and depth. Just be with me. I know this particular video can be a bit conceptual or theoretical, some people call it, but trust me, you're going to learn and leverage a lot of interesting things. So please keep watching till the end. This is very interesting. Now the other thing is, which is Mocha. So initially it came and it was known as a Mocha, then it got renamed to LiveScript. Now finally it got converted into a terminology which is called JavaScript. Why it was called JavaScript? This is interesting, guys. It's not like only you need to sell the product, for that you need the marketing. Even you are doing some crazy stuff, building something crazy which is open source and everyone have to use it. Even for that, branding is needed. And what they did, they leveraged the popularity of Java. They called something related to Java so that it is very easy for people to adopt it, right? And hence it is called JavaScript. Nothing to do from the Java word. It took nothing. So this is something interesting that you have to take and learn from it. Now let's talk about some of the years, some of the great innovation and journey that JavaScript has seen over the period of time. Some of the great revolution basically that have came. Like 2010, if we talk about, Node.js got introduced, which is like, hey, you don't have to just worry around JavaScript to execute on the browser. Now you can execute JavaScript on the server as well. Like you can now execute JavaScript everywhere. That kind of a thing came where basically Node.js was introduced. Now you can build a full stack project using Express, MongoDB and React, and all sort of thing is possible because now JavaScript can execute everywhere. Now, after that, 2015 ES6, which is again very, very important. ECMAScript was terminology that was given to all the new versions of JavaScript starting from 2015. So ES6 is nothing, is a ECMAScript 6, which is a version of JavaScript. So you will see ES6, ES7, ES8 kind of a thing. That is JavaScript version, also known as ECMAScript 6, 7, 8. So in case you have heard those terminology, don't worry around that. This is the crux between that. So now it introduced a couple of cool features, like you have let const, you have arrow functions, you have classes, literals, you have promises, await, async. In case, as I said, you don't understand these terminology, don't worry. So we are going to cover everything in upcoming videos. Then most beautiful things in JavaScript world started coming in 2018, where we got Next.js, we got Deno, we got Bun, right? We got WebAssembly, where you can execute JavaScript. You can use JavaScript. You can actually use different programming language like C++, Rust, which can actually execute inside JavaScript in the browser, which makes it much more powerful. Then now in today's era, you can use AI and ML using JavaScript. You can execute on the browser. There are libraries like TensorFlow.js, which can make it happen where you are executing AI in the browser. Yes, you heard it right. You can execute AI ML algorithms in the browser using JavaScript, using these couple of popular, very famous, you can say, library. So now you can understand JavaScript has gone above and beyond, where everywhere you can see JavaScript. And very important, around 98% today website or web applications are actually built using JavaScript. So that is what it is important to learn JavaScript, because if you wanted to be sustained, you wanted to be in the market, you want to be relevant in the market, if you have to choose one programming language that can make it happen, that is JavaScript. So please go through this entire course, learn and master JavaScript using Chakde JavaScript, and you will see you are not going to be replaced so easily in the market, and you will always have great opportunity in future. Please hence keep watching all the videos, master JavaScript, which is very important. Now let's talk about another very interesting popular thing which basically comes. Is it a scripting language or the programming language? Even before I talk about is JavaScript a scripting language or the programming language, let me talk about the differentiation between both of them, which basically helps you to understand what exactly the JavaScript is, right? So let's talk about scripting language and the programming language. Let's try to understand from the differences, like how execution happens in scripting language and how execution happens in programming language. Now let's understand, if you have a code, so you have a code, multiple lines of code basically that are written. Now how that will execute in a scripting language and how that is execute in programming language, let's understand the differentiation and you will understand, master it. Now in case of scripting language, it says that, hey, I will read the English statement that you have written. It can be like for loop or some variable assignment and blah, blah, blah. It will take one thing at a time. It will basically try to understand what need to be done, and it will keep on executing and performing for every line of code basically which is written. So it will not going to convert into machine code basically in one shot. It is going to convert one thing at a time and going to understand what to do for this particular line. That is how basically it works. But on the other side, which is in programming language, it says that you have written the entire code, give me the entire file, I am going to convert that entire code into the machine code, which is byte code basically, right? I am going to convert into binary code, and now this is binary code which I am going to execute in one single shot. So I am going to compile it, and the compiled code I am going to execute in one single shot, where in scripting language it doesn't happen. So it actually execute one line at a time. Over here it first compile and then basically execute. Hence it is called interpreted language, and this is called a compiled language. Now there is another differences where this is definitely slower, because this conversion has to be done one at a time, whereas this is faster because the conversion is done into binary file at a build time itself. Now at the time of execution it is much faster, because you have a very much optimized machine understanding code already with you, and which makes your life very easy. Now if we talk about scripting language, you need some medium, like you need some browser or operating system or a server in order to execute your scripting language. But on the other side, if we talk about anything which can understand your anything which is like computer, right, anything where your code can execute, so this is basically it can run independently. If you might know about IoT devices, you might be knowing about your gadgets, right, any of the gadgets like your watch and all sort of thing, whatever you can think of, right, anything which can power computer related stuff, right, is equipped to basically execute your binary code. So it's like it's a machine code. Anything which is machine can execute and basically understand this code. Your life is sorted. Now language, JavaScript, Python, PHP, all of these are scripting language, whereas C, C++, Java, Rust, all these are basically your programming language. Now let's understand what basically JavaScript is. Is it a scripting language or a programming language? From most of the stuff I will talk about, most of these capability JavaScript has of scripting language. It doesn't do anything specific to the programming language, but from a capability perspective I will talk about there are many things that it does up as a programming language. So it is a scripting language, no doubt, which is in 1995 basically it started executing on the browser. Now finally it started using interpreter, which is like your V8 engine or a Spider Monkey. These are some you can say JavaScript engine which are sitting in the browser, which helps to execute your code. And even if we talk about on the server, there are some V8 engine which sits on the server also, which helps to convert your code and interpret your code and execute your code, right? So all of these are scripting language basically that came in the browser, and it is scripting language. But why I'm saying you can do programming language related stuff, example, modern frameworks basically that came up, you have TypeScript, you can do Node.js, you can do like you can have a full programming language, you can use it as a full programming language. You can do almost everything using you can say JavaScript in today's world, right? So that's a power basically JavaScript has brought. When it started executing on server, you can do crazy stuff using JavaScript. Now there is another interesting thing that comes. I hope you understand the scripting language and programming language. If you understand, there are a few questions that I have for you till the end. Okay, now the other thing basically comes, is JavaScript a single threaded or it is a multi-threaded? So guys, hear me out clearly. This is very interesting thing that I am going to talk about. So we have to understand what this single thread means, what this multi-thread means, because most of the people like saying that you have a multi-thread, you do things in parallel, you do things one at a time, it's okay. But do you really understand what it meant by a single threaded or multi-threaded? That I am going to basically talk. Now, let's take an example. When we say it's a single threaded and what is multi-threaded, we'll talk about what is JavaScript, single threaded and multi-threaded we are going to cover, but let's understand the differentiation between single threaded and multi-threaded. So if we talk about execution, it says that if I have given multiple tasks to you, single threaded will say, boss, I'm going to complete this task, then I will go to the another task, I will go to the another task, and I can do one thing at a time. I can do one thing at a time. Whereas multiple threading means, right? So you have to understand in our computer, we have multiple, you can say core. You might be using 4 core, you can say operating system or CPU, or you can be having 8 core machine, right? So depending on the kind of a machine, if I talk about 4 core is nothing. You can actually execute 4 different tasks in that particular case. So you can have 4 different threads which are executing in different cores of your machine. That's why the more the core, the more the parallel multi-threading is possible, more parallel processes can be executed, and hence your system and machine can be more efficient. And hence you see multi-threading is basically leveraging all the cores that you have, right? Now if we talk about Java's like concurrency, can multiple like parallel things can be done or not, right? So in case of single, although it is a single threaded, but there are tricks to use some concurrent or a async task. Example, when you are in a kitchen, you are preparing some food and in the dish basically, and you got to know you don't have paneer, right? For that, you may be ordering from a Blinkit or a Dunzo or whatever. So do you stop and really wait for Dunzo to basically come and then you start your further processing? No, you keep on working on other stuff. You just order it, and once you get the delivery, you leverage the paneer and basically go ahead and prepare your dish. Exactly, that is how concurrency can be maintained even it is single threaded. It's just that whatever task you are doing, you are going to attempt one thing at a time. Example, once you get a paneer, you will be working on paneer, you will be doing chopping and whatnot with paneer. You are not going to do any other thing. When you are actually making an order on a Dunzo, you are focusing on order on Dunzo, you are not doing any other things on the kitchen. That is something, even you are doing a concurrent work, but you are doing one thing at a time, which is very, very important. But in case of multi-threaded, these are truly parallel execution, which means I am going to use the different cores in order to perform. Like you have a different helpers in order to perform different tasks. One is doing chopping, second is doing some stuffing and maybe creating your gravy and some cool stuff, right? That is the power of multi-threading is. I hope you get it. Now, for anything which are like for heavy task, it is not recommended to use the single threaded. For CPU intensive task, it is recommended to use multi-threaded because you have multiple cores. Why don't you leverage it so that you can get maximum outcome, right? So it is single threaded are easy because you don't have multiple helper. One person is doing the task. It is easy to assign the task and get the task done. When you have multiple helpers to do the job, then you have to take management of who is free, whom to allocate the task. If someone is taking more time, right? You have to prevent the race condition. If two things are basically done at the same time, how you are going to handle that? Many of those interesting things and complex scenario comes in the multi-threading. But again, multi-threading, you are able to leverage the CPU intensive things as anything. Now, if we talk about programming language, JavaScript and Python are two very much popular single threaded, you can say, languages. Now, Java, C++, Go, Rust, these are multi-threaded programming language where it can leverage the multiple core on a machine. So all of those things basically can be done using that. Now, let's talk about, is JavaScript a single threaded or a multi-threaded? Hear me out, guys. Very, very important. JavaScript is a single threaded by default 100%. That is true. But you can make it work like a multi-thread using some trick on the browser and the server. That is what I'm going to cover. Let's cover and try to understand this. So if we talk about single thread, JavaScript is by default single thread. But JavaScript cannot execute multiple operation at the same time. It can handle the async operation where it says that go to the market. Meanwhile, I am doing something. Once you get from the market, get the grocery, I will prepare that grocery. But I will be doing one task at a time. I can handle the multiple, you can say, async operation, but execution will be happen one at a time. Now, where these single thread things are used, anything which is CPU intensive, please do not use. Anything which is, you can say, input output, anything that you have to read, write, make the API call, get the data, anything that you have to do handling of the data, right? Without doing the core investment and time consuming CPU intensive work, avoid that. Anything that you have to do quick, like get the data, pass the data, make the API call, right? So all of those things, it is very good at handling basically when it is single threaded. Now you can make it multi-threaded. How? You can make it multi-threaded in the browser using something called web worker. So you can use web worker where it will spawn multiple workers and leverage, you can say, behind the scene multiple CPU, and it will basically make it work under the hood as a multi-threaded. Yes, you can get it done in the browser using web workers. If you have not tried, we will try in future. So the other thing is, there are different tricks in basically at a server level. The first is, if you are using Node.js 10+, then you have something called worker thread. which can allow JavaScript to run parallel thread for CPU heavy tasks, where you can do something like hashing, AI related stuff, or the data processing. All of those things basically are possible. There is another trick which is use child process. The child process, you can do something similar, but only thing is you cannot share the memory or the you can say data across different, you can say, child processes which are there, like which is you have a file processing or the external API call. For such operations you can still use the child process. The third important, which is again very much popular in the latest version, which is called the cluster module. It helps you to spawning the multiple process for different CPU cores that you have, right? So these are the three different techniques, tricks that you have, that you can use on the server to make it multi-threading. Even JavaScript is single threaded. So go and ask with your friend, do they really know if JavaScript can do something called multi-threading? And do let me know in the comment if you get the answer from them or not. Now that brings to very interesting thing. So now it's your turn, guys. Ab teri bari. Now you have to answer certain things and let me know in the comment if you are able to understand and get the right answers for these questions. Can a scripting language be used as a programming language? If yes, which is that programming language? Is JavaScript single threaded or multi-threaded? Right? One liner or two liner, what do you understand from that? Why was JavaScript called JavaScript? Does it has to do anything with the Java, or it was some other tactic basically? So what is ECMAScript and how it is related to JavaScript? How does Java handles the concurrency if it is just a single threaded programming language? So with that, I want guys you to help me with all these questions in the comment, and do ask these questions with your fellow friends and see if they really know JavaScript under the hood, or they are just doing some window.alert and getting JavaScript executed and saying that, hey, I'm great at JavaScript. So guys, thanks for watching. So before you go, I have a humble request, guys. So we want this to become one of the most loving JavaScript course on the internet. I'm going to put all my effort to provide you the best content on the internet. What I need, I have a request, guys. Please share this as much as possible so that I can invest more time, more energy, and bring more interesting concept and put a lot of effort. So for that, let me know basically how, if you like this video, if you learn something from this, anything that you want me to cover basically in upcoming videos, any concept that you feel I should make any explicit video for that, please do let me in the comment. And we are going to have a great journey ahead. And in case you have not yet enrolled into like Chakde JavaScript course, please go enroll into this. So this course is going to be one-stop solution. And trust me, guys, I'm going to not just make you fall in love with JavaScript, but I'm going to make you the best JavaScript developer. So just be with me and Chakde JavaScript. So see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all the love that you have shared till now. Please, humble request, go and spread this as much as possible. Thank you.